Before becoming known as Darth Tenebrous, he was simply known as Rugus Gnome. Rugus Gnome was a male Bith born sometime between 246 and 167 BBY. This era currently now being known as the High Republic era. Prior to becoming a Sith apprentice, Gnome developed a skill for creating starship designs. His character traits, much like those who would precede him, involve intellect, skill, and the sciences. His skills would certainly become a use to him in the future. Gnome was discovered later on and selected to become an apprentice under the tutelage of a Twi'lek Sith Lord. It is here that Rugus Gnome becomes Darth Tenebrous. With his new master, Tenebrous devoted himself to realizing the grand plan of the Sith, which entailed the destruction of the Jedi and conception of a new ruling political order. During his early years as a Sith apprentice, Tenebrous began pursuing his passions, tying the sciences and Sith arts together. One project even involved poisoning the Jedi's connections to the Force, though this ultimately failed. As he matured and grew, Tenebrous's understanding and perception of the Force changed. He started to believe the dark side of the Force wasn't simply a mystic force of benevolence, but rather it was an energy source to be drawn from and controlled. Tenebrous began to feel that he was outgrowing his master, and the need for his master was non-existent. Thus, he killed his master and began a search for a new apprentice. Tenebrous's power grew, and his ability to see into the future grew with it. He was so powerful that he had the foresight to see different potential scenarios. One such scenario saw the birth of a new powerful Sith Lord, an apprentice for Tenebrous, and as such he manipulated an intergalactic bank agent, Car Damask, into meeting his future wife, leading to the birth of Higo Damask, who would later come to be known as Darth Plagueis the Wise. When Damask was of age, Tenebrous took the child under his wing as his new apprentice. Now Tenebrous's power solely didn't involve the scientists and the dark ways of the Sith, but also political prowess. This left the Tenebrous and Plagueis extending their sphere of influence into the political realm by recruiting informants, agents, elite bankers, industrialists, and many more. However, the extension into these different spheres wasn't always straightforward. In several cases, he was swindled out of deals. However, whenever he was swindled out of a deal, he was sure to get even by using Plagueis to make those people who double-crossed him disappear. Betrayal and a few other factors would lead to the eventual demise of Tenebrous. On 67 BBY, Tenebrous and Plagueis traveled to Baldemic to investigate the discovery of a rare element that could disable lightsabers, Cortosis ore. While in the cavern, a sabotaged mining droid caused an explosion. Tenebrous contained the explosion, but at this precise moment, Plagueis collapsed the cave onto him, leaving him to die. And so it would seem the story of Tenebrous ends, but here it actually kind of begins. There's a small matter of eternal life to discuss. As he was dying, he angered Plagueis by scolding Plagueis for placing the Sith Order in such danger, as not only did he kill him, but had no way to get off the planet since their ship was badly damaged. So out of anger, Plagueis snapped Tenebrous's neck, ending his physical life. Now before this, Tenebrous previously ensured his survival of consciousness by altering the midichlorians and making maxichlorians. The maxichlorians, a reverse-engineered product, would then transfer his essence and consciousness into Plagueis. Now remember how I mentioned Tenebrous's foresight before? Plagueis' name literally translates to the diseased one, and now Plagueis was diseased with Tenebrous's conscious and maxichlorians. In this transfer, Tenebrous gave up his ability to sense the future, though he felt it didn't matter since he already knew what his future was. His plan was now to eventually inhibit the Chosen One. As Tenebrous inhibited Plagueis' body, he used Plagueis' Force foresight and sensed Plagueis' impending death at the hands of his future apprentice, Palpatine. As the maxichlorians infected Plagueis' body, or in other words, Tenebrous' new vessel, it started also to diminish Tenebrous' ability to see into the future, thus stopping him from understanding the eventual death of Plagueis at the hands of Palpatine. With the infection of Plagueis' body, the vessel that Tenebrous used, the thought of death and not being able to see the future frightened Tenebrous greatly, and with no means of accomplishing his goals, in panic he fled Plagueis' body. Upon fleeing, he found himself back in his mummified remains back on the cave in Baldemic. In his grave, time passed, but he didn't know if it had been days, years, centuries, or eons. In this passing of what could have been a millennia, it seemed the maxichlorians and the virus that infected Plagueis turned against Tenebrous as well, and ironically, he accomplished his goals of immortality, but only in that, he kept endlessly living in death. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And remember, the Force is with you, always.